Hey, I'm gonna do a Let's Play of Sky Blue by Gigoia Studios. This is they've taken a Kandinsky painting and repurposed it as a top-down paramecium swimmer. That's the name of the genre. So I want to avoid these forms. No, wait, I was supposed to look at what the Schronenberg is the musician, I'm assuming. Okay, so I want to avoid these forms, these doodles, and I want to collect these circles, which are, as far as I'm concerned, cartoon googly eyes. So it looks like I am a piece of a different Kandinsky painting, and I am collecting googly eyes that are actually circles from another Kandinsky painting off of this one. Okay. I actually just had a conversation with Chrissy about formalism yesterday. After listening to Sufficiently Human, Lana Polinsky and Zelani Stewart talk about Goldak, which is another Gigoia Studios game, I played Goldak and realized that if I'd played it without that discussion, I would have just thought of it as a poorly executed Super Monkey Ball clone, and I would have dismissed it. But after the discussion, I realized that reductionism does absolutely nothing. Simply looking at it looking at it through the lens of its mechanical genre alone, is like, that's useful if you're looking for a game that plays differently than other games, but I'm not looking for anything particular. So why am I dismissing a game with familiar mechanics? I was surprised that I was doing that. So here's another example of a Gigoia Studios game where the mechanics are familiar, and I start reducing it to the mechanics, and completely not giving any weight to the aesthetics or the context, but mostly the aesthetics. But no. I think what I'm starting to appreciate about this game is largely the context. So let's talk about how big of a hipster I am. I used to, when we lived in Athens, Georgia, I would go to the college library, and they had like an awesome art section there, and I would just like hang out on the art floor of the library and just look through these really awesome print books of a lot of these like blue chip artists, and you'd also find ones that no one really talks about, and I assume they don't go for very much at the auction either. I started realizing that familiarity was actually a really important part of art appreciation, like in the sense, at least popular appreciation, because once you're somewhat familiar with Kandinsky's styles, and you see a Kandinsky painting, there's a real pleasure out of knowing that it's a Kandinsky painting and recognizing that. And it's like you're identifying the pattern, you're identifying the system of Kandinsky, rather than a single aesthetic result. Okay, so this is largely how I appreciate blue chip artists, is with my familiarity with their shapes and styles. Is a foundation for me to to examine the pieces, create hypothesis, and test those. So, yeah. Okay, so here we have a Kandinsky piece, and the context, that of familiarity, it's not useful. It's not mechanically useful in this game. So, at first when I was playing it, I was actually kind of disappointed, because I have enough invested in this particular artist that I would like to see some interesting treatment of the work in a game form. Okay, and I was disappointed because I felt like I was just getting a passable mechanic in order to examine the resulting work in a new way. But then I changed my mind, and this is why. Before I was such an amazing, skillful master as I am demonstrating now. Like, wouldn't you see this in a Chagall? This, like, little person flying around like this? That seems like a Chagall thing, doesn't it? Seems like it to me. Anyway, before I became really good... I just went right through that. Before I became really good at this, I kept on hitting those things and having to start over. And, notice the change in music when that happens, okay? So... right? Okay, so it's this, like, almost cartoony, ending. It's like a Family Feud, but like Schoenberg-wise. Okay, so then that was happening frequently enough, and I was collecting these stupid eyes on this beautiful painting that I wasn't actually examining because I'm just trying to avoid its contours. Like, I wasn't looking at the colors of this. I wasn't looking at suggestions of facial shapes or like feminine forms, nothing like that, right? Or, you know, I wasn't trying to. I wasn't thinking about how this looks like a bird from a fucking old Pink Panther cartoon or nothing. I was just avoiding all the shapes. And then, as I was making progress, hopefully getting to something else, I kept on reaching that fail state. And then this music, which I think is, I imagine it's contemporary to the Kandinsky works, and that might not be the case, but either way, like, when I was living in Athens, I was listening to bullshit like this while I was looking at bullshit like this, so it kind of works for me. And then, and I was, you know, having these, like, these, struggling with this fail state, okay? And that helped me realize that, you know, Gigoia Studios has, intentionally or unintentionally, it doesn't really matter, created a third mind here, right? We got the Schoenberg, we got the Kandinsky, we got the gameplay mechanics, and they're all just kind of coming together with my fingers on my WASD, or it's not WASD, it's actually arrow, and I'm having a different experience than any three of those separate elements. And it's kind of like that experience isn't not I was expecting it to be something like a world of the world from which the Kandinsky paintings come, right? But that's not what we have. What we have is a world in which the Kandinsky paintings exist. I'm exploring the paintings as a relic. My familiarity, Kandinsky's status as a blue chip artist, Schoenberg's experimentation, and the time in which Schoenberg was doing that. I'm assuming, I don't know anything about Schoenberg. It's all coming together to create this, like, almost like a period piece that doesn't necessarily happen in their time. It could be happening now. Basically, what I'm saying is, I don't feel like I did when I was looking at the Kandinsky paintings. I don't feel like I do when I listen to Schoenberg's music. I don't feel like I do. I feel mostly like I do when I'm playing a game. But the particular aesthetic is like borrowing that, like, art lust of, you know, that famous modern art lust of, like, the turn of the century. I don't know if anyone else experiences that, but, like, I like fantasize about, like, living in, get ready for this pronunciation, Montparnasse, and like before World War I, and like hanging out at the Beehive, and like making all sorts of crazy paintings, and like drinking lots of wine and shit, and like no one's famous, and everyone's just kind of doing their thing. It really appeals to me. And so this game, it's almost like what it evokes is that desire in me, not the fantasy itself, but it evokes like this, like, so you went to art school, or not really, like, you are a fan of these of works from this period. Like, let me show you something. And I think that's interesting in itself. It's a lot less ambitious than I was thinking it was, but in actuality, if I'm able to accept that that level of ambition and appreciate it for its accomplishments there, it's I would consider it more ambitious than what my original assumptions would have made it out to be, which is a pretty interesting concept, I think. So I'm just swimming along now. I'm pretty good at this game at this point. Alright, y'all have a good day.